Welcome to Madison City Channel's Know Your Candidates, co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Dane County. I'm your interviewer, Marilyn Townsend, and I would like to introduce you to Sarah Keyeski, who is running for the State Senate in District 14. As we begin, I'd like you to give an opening statement as to the educational, vocational, and civic experience you have, which qualifies you for this office, and why you are running for the state Senate.
Sure. Well, thanks, Marilyn. So I am born and bred in Wisconsin. My education, however, has been out of the state. I went to Luther College and studied psychology, and then I went on to Northwestern University and got a master's in psychology. That led me to a career in mental health counseling, which I've done now for the last 25 years. So my background is really doing that, is understanding the mental health needs of our young people and adults through individual counseling, family counseling, and couples counseling. So I've done that, but I've also been civically engaged through multiple things like volunteering, being a Girl Scout leader, but more specifically in 2021, I started a nonprofit following COVID and my concerns about the disconnect of our community and some of the sadness and loneliness we were feeling. And so this was oriented to bringing our community together and working together in a service-oriented way, which I believe helps our mental health and helps connect our small communities in a really meaningful way. From that, I got asked actually to run for office. This wasn't on my original bucket list of things to do in my plan of life, um, but due to the implications of this particular um, election, what's so important about protecting our democratic ideals and our freedoms. I couldn't imagine something more important to do with my time and my talents. And so after a little bit of thinking about it, talking with my family, I decided, yeah, I will run. And this will become my passion project and my heartfelt job for the next, well, it's almost been a year now.
Is there any process you believe the Wisconsin legislature should put in place now for redistricting after the next national census?
Yeah, I think something that is formalized, that is fair, that is nonpartisan, that is not changeable every election, or that is changeable when we have a different power structure and party in prominence in the legislature. Um, I think something needs to be streamlined. I think it needs to be, again, bipartisan and fair, and have some oversight. Maybe that's judicial oversight to make sure that there is no, if you will, funny business with changing things around when somebody might want an advantage when they have power and want to keep it.
What issues, if any, do you think you could work on effectively in a bipartisan manner in the next session?
Oh gosh, I hope many. As a mental health counselor, my goal is always to work for what's going to be best for the most people. So if it's a family, how can we all work together to have the best outcome for all of us? It's not a zero-sum game in my world. For couples, it's the same way. Like, how can we all benefit? As the saying goes, a rising tide lifts all boats. So bipartisanship seems central to our work in the legislature. So obviously one of the things that's really important to me is mental health, but I also hear it across the board as an important issue. I don't care what ideology you have politically, I hear everybody being impacted by mental health issues, substance abuse issues. And so my hope is to really do some meaningful work in bipartisan way to address our mental health crisis, and to help promote both services and some of the policies that could improve even uh, the increase of the mental health crisis that we have, like addressing poverty, addressing uh, sensible gun control or gun safety legislation, Medicaid expansion. So things that can also help some of the social determinants that contribute to the increasing mental health issues.
What role, if any, do you think the legislature should have in addressing conditions in the Wisconsin state prisons?
Oh, I think that's incredibly important. I think that our prisons have to be a place where we can work on helping individuals improve their education, their emotional well-being, their skill sets. But I also think if we're using it as just a private entity that is profit driven, I'm not sure that those goals are necessarily as profitable and as valued or maybe prioritized. So I think there needs to be legislation that is involved in making sure some things are mandatory for the rights of anyone that is incarcerated, to make sure that their well-being is enhanced, their safety is improved, and they're able to become better citizens through programming, through the structure of the prison system, rather than just a cog in a wheel that is kind of forgotten.
Are there, um, what role do you think the state legislature should have in ensuring successful outcomes for all students, including those with disabilities?
Mm. Well, you know, as I have heard said, and I really agree with, if our values are purported to be, we love our children, we want what's good for our children, we care about the next generation, then our budget needs to reflect that. And so I believe that we have to do a better job of financing the needs of our schools and increasing the reimbursement rate for our special education students. Right now, I think they're reimbursed at maybe 30%. That's not nearly enough. And unfortunately, there are more needs for our students today, more that are considered having special needs for a variety of reasons. And so we need to make sure that everyone is elevated with better resources, changing the just the system, the technology of today. I mean, all of that is actually rapidly changing. And so we need to be on the cutting edge of helping to make sure that we have schools that are addressing that. And I think robust financing of that, and also, like I said, a better reimbursement for our special education students is really important.
Are there any steps you believe the legislature should take to further address mental health and substance abuse disorders?
Steps that they can take. Well, so obviously, I think having programs and having funding, opening critical care uh, facilities that are available in emergencies and providing care in our state is really important. So some of the things that are already happening are really exciting and are helping to address the issue. I think we need to do more. We need to increase more access to services. We need to increase the affordability of services. But I also believe that there are so many social determinants of mental health issues that, the way I think about it is, if me as a mental health therapist, that's what I do. If I am, if you will, pulling people out of the river because they're struggling with mental health issues or substance abuse issues, I want us to also look upstream and figure out, well, why are they falling in? What's happening in our society, in the structures that we have, in the policies that we have, that are making it harder for people to be well? And so I think that means things like Medicaid expansion would be really important, so that more people have access to services, both mental health and physical health services, that are more on the poverty end and need those services, because that has a huge implication. I think expanding the child tax credit, or working on having universal breakfast and lunch that is available to children free of cost, is important. We want our children to be able to think. We want them to not have to be worried about where their next meal is. We want them to be able to function well, be able to regulate their system. And many of those things, if they're not feeling safe, if they're not feeling well, then all of those things are exacerbated in a mental health presentation that is more difficult for our kids to function well. I think of, again, common sense gun safety legislation, so that our kids aren't going into schools feeling like this is an unsafe place to be, because I've heard of these stories about the terrible things that are happening in schools, and we have to do these uh, drills. That is psychologically impairing for children, where they don't even think that where they're going for 7 hours or so a day is a safe place. Fundamentally, we must, in an emotional way, for people, we must feel safe and secure in order to be healthy. So there's multiple things I think that need to be addressed, to think broadly about our mental health and improve what we have available for services, but also, like, why are we having this crisis also?
What other priorities do you have for your term in office?
Mental health, obviously huge, and public schools. But I think one of the other reasons I'm running, I grew up on a small farm in Cashton, Wisconsin. And I went away to school, like I said, and thought that was lovely. But then I really, as I grew and had children and wanted to build a life, I really wanted to return to a small town, to have the kind of life that I had, a rural life, that was just with community and closeness. So I moved to Lodi, which is where I live now, and raised my family of 6 kids. Um, and so for me, helping our rural communities be strong, be robust. So helping small businesses, helping our agriculture, helping our infrastructure. So we have broadband and we have good roads, helping to make our societies in these rural communities close, and connected, I think is really important, because that is going to help us, again, with mental health, with improvement in uh, sort of the overall well-being of our lives. And I think that has huge implications for the health and wealth of Wisconsin in general.
What would you like to say to the viewing audience as we complete this interview?
Uh, that's a great question. I guess I would like to say, please care. Um, I am running for office not because I love the idea of having a spotlight on me and having people criticize the things that I do and say, because it's tricky. But again, I think care about our democracy right now, care about Wisconsin, care about our kids, care about our well-being. Care about what's happening. Get involved. Make sure you vote. Make sure that you do what you can outside of voting. If you can write a postcard, if you can contribute money, if you can, use your voice, make sure that you're talking about the values that are really important to you. If you believe in freedom, if you believe in respect, if you believe in equality, make sure that those are known, because I think some people are quiet right now. It feels a little scary to be out and to share because there's so much, social media kind of hostility. But you know what? If we are quiet and our voices are not heard, others don't believe they're out there. And then you feel alone. And so I think my biggest message, I guess, is what you care about, fight for. And put your voice in it, put your effort in it, have that fire in your belly and like work for it.
I want to thank Sarah Keyeski for speaking with us and thank the viewing audience for taking the time to know your candidates. I want to remind everyone that the general election is Tuesday, November 5th. Every election is important. Please vote. On behalf of Madison City Channel and the League of Women Voters of Dane County, thank you for joining us.